just for 5 minutes. I'll give you the introduction of these trunks, and we'll switch 1, 2. VLAN 10. VLAN 10. Now this PC want to communicate with this PC. Right. X is a boy. He wants to send a love letter to Y is a girl. He wants to send it. He's in the VLAN 10 and he's in the VLAN 10. Now VLAN 10 and VLAN 10 wants to communicate. What will we do? We'll connect them, right? And we'll make this port part of 10 and we'll make this port as part of 10, right? Then it will, the switch by default, it will see what is a VLAN on which it received the data, and it will only forward into that VLAN, right? It will not forward into another VLAN. Got it? Data whichever received from one VLAN, it will only be going to that VLAN only. It will never go into another VLAN. 10 VLAN data will never go to VLAN 20. Right? So here it gave to VLAN 10 port. It received. It is VLAN 10, so it is forwarded here. So by this communication is happening. Now X and Y are able to communicate, right?
I'm getting confused. There are different switches, right?
Yeah, different switches.
So they can
send the data by making this port as VLAN 10 port and this port as VLAN 10 port. They can be able to communicate. Okay, I'm just giving you the introduction. Okay, now he's A. This fellow here, he is A. He's on VLAN 20. B on the same VLAN 20. Okay, X came to A. X came to A. A is also a boy. X and A are friends. Y and B are friends. Okay.
Yeah.
X came to A, told that I'm able to speak to my girl. X told to A. Right? Y came to B and told I'm able to speak my boyfriend. Now A and B want to communicate. My friend is speaking to his girlfriend. B will think that why she's my girl and she's my friend and she's able to speak to her boyfriend. Why shouldn't I? A went to network admin. Right, network admin told I want to speak to my friend who is in the same VLAN of me, but he's on another switch. Right? So this network admin, he's poor. He has some lack of knowledge. So he again took one cable and connected two switches. Now what he did is he made this port as part of VLAN 20 and he made this port as part of VLAN 20. Right? Then only they will be able to communicate. Right? He is getting VLAN 20 data. He will only be forwarding through the VLAN 20. He will not forward to VLAN 10.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because one broadcast domain will not be able to communicate with the other broadcast domain. So the data is sent, he received. Right? But for suppose think there are 50 VLANs on my switch and 50 VLANs on other switch. If all the 50 VLANs want to in turn communicate with other 50 VLANs, should I keep all the 50 cables? Should I do this?
Oh.
It will not be a cost efficient, right? And simple, it is very ridiculous. And you know what? Switch will only have 40 ports at max on it, 40 to 42, right? One basic switch. And if it is having 50 VLANs, if it is having 50 VLANs, 40 VLANs are able to communicate because they are able to be attached. But remaining 10 VLANs, what will happen? Should they die? No. So what the network admin, he came up with a solution. No, everyone is coming to me and they are fighting to me. So what he did is he just made whatever the number of VLANs may be. I will just keep one port here and one port here. I will make this port as part of all the VLANs. Now whatever the VLAN data is coming, it will be going through this VLAN. Now this port is called trunk. Okay. So trunk port is part of multiple VLANs or else all the VLANs. But access port is only part of single VLAN. Okay. So how it does everything, we'll see after that. It's 11:20. Come back at see. I just shown you in order to make you understand. I just told you that simple story, but actually in industry real time, what happens is you will never have around this 10 to 15 PCs in one VLAN. So for 10 to 15 pieces in a company. Okay, if you are going to one huge company, you will be having some around 500 PCs, right? Everyone and you will not be only having one department. You will be having some sales department, you will be having some marketing department, you will be having some finance department. Okay, only finance department wants to communicate with other finance department, right? First thing. And if you want to accommodate 500 pieces on single switch, you cannot because switch will have only at max 40 to 50 ports. Then what about 500 pieces? You need to include multiple switches. So what happened, I have around 10 switches. Got my point? 10 switches, all are connected, and in turn they are connected to PCs. Got it? Now my PC, now my PC on switch 1, it is in VLAN 10. Want to communicate with my PC on the same VLAN 10 on the switch number 4. How will they communicate? You have to connect it. Similarly, VLAN 2, VLAN 20 to VLAN 20. We cannot keep separate cables for separate VLANs. So we came up with trunk. That is the purpose. In real time scenario, this will be the case where we use trunks. VLAN trunks. Okay. Switch 1 and switch 2. When multiple VLANs communication has to be happened, instead of using multiple links between the switches, we only use one link. That is only the one port connection between the switches, through which we can able to make multi VLANs communication. Right? So this is my VLAN 10, this is my VLAN 20, and this is my VLAN 30. Same here, 10, 20, 30. My 10 has to communicate with 10, 20 has to communicate with 20, 30 has to communicate with 30. Right? We made it part of multi VLANs. Great, that's good. but but right, okay, but when my VLAN 10 data is coming, it sends the data that it belongs to VLAN 10, send it out through this port. But when this switch received the data, how it will know that this data is belong to VLAN 10? How it will know? Because we are having VLAN 10, VLAN 20, and VLAN 30, and we made this port as part of multiple VLANs. How will it come to know?
The MAC address.
No. So in order to make that identity, in order to tell the receiving device that this data belongs to that particular VLAN, when this switch is sending out the data through this interface, when it is sending out, this is my frame. This is my frame. Okay, in which it will add a tag. Tag is like how we have an ID card and tag. The same thing, right? Which shows the information, identity. Who are you and what are you doing? The same thing here. In the frame, it will add an extra information which we call it as tagging, right? So it will see this is VLAN 10 data, so I'm sending it through this port. Okay, when I'm sending out, it will add to the frame, it will add a tag that this data belongs to VLAN 10. The receiving device, when it receives it, the receiving device, when it receives it, it will check for the tag. First thing, it will come to know that yeah, this data belongs to VLAN 10. It will forward it to the VLAN 10. Actually, the technical term tagging means that adding this tag to the information to the frame is called trunking. Actually, trunking is adding the tagging or adding that extra information regarding VLAN, okay, or else encapsulating the frame with VLAN information is called trunking, and the port which does that work is called trunk port. Okay, if someone asks you what is a trunk port, you need to tell actually two sentences. A very important thing. One is it is part of multiple VLANs. It is part of multiple. Yes. And second thing is it is capable of tagging. These two sentences in combination tell that what is a trunk port. Right? That's a VLAN trunk. So yeah, the port types, trunk port. Okay, trunk port can have two or more VLANs configured. Right? It is not just associated for a single VLAN. It is associated for two or more multiple VLANs. That is trunk port. Can carry multiple VLAN information. By default, all the VLAN traffic is allowed from a trunk port. By default. By default, whatever the VLANs are created on that switch, all that VLAN information will be allowed. But you can disable it. Like if you want to allow only, this is like I'm having VLAN 10, 20 here. Here I'm having 10, 20, 30, 40. But here I'm having VLAN 30 and VLAN 40. Right? There is no need of sending this VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 information through this interface. Why? Because there is no VLAN 30 and VLAN 40 here. So what will I do? I will block VLAN 10 and 20 information here. Okay. There is no need of sending VLAN 30 and VLAN 40 information through this interface to out. What will I do? I will block 30 and 40. So by default, it will, when you are making trunk, whatever the VLANs are present on this VLAN, on this switch, right? By default, whatever the VLANs are created on this switch, all that VLAN information will be sent out through the trunk port. But we can control it. Okay.